Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about handbags from a Singaporean brand called Kwanpen. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying better quality from the get-go, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on high quality, under the radar brands, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, then my content is geared towards you. I've been asked a couple of times to talk about Kwanpen, and they used to have a boutique in London in the old Burlington Arcade up until lockdown. And then once things opened up after lockdown, I went to look for the boutique to talk about the brand and then found out, unfortunately, they were a casualty of the pandemic and they have left Europe. They don't have any outlets, any stockists in Europe. Their bags are available in their Asian stores, or you can buy them online. I was recently in Southeast Asia and I had the chance to go to two Kwanpen stores. The first one in the Landmark in Hong Kong, and the second store I went to, I think was actually their flagship in Singapore in the Marina Bay Sands shopping center. And I was a bit taken aback because both times I went into the boutique, there were a number of staff. In Hong Kong, there were two. And when I walked in, I wasn't acknowledged. They just looked at me and didn't say anything. I had to ask, could you teach me? Could you tell me about the brand? And then there was the language barrier. So maybe that was the issue. And then they went off to find somebody who was an English speaker. But when I went to the store in Singapore, the same thing happened. Bigger store. And they had about 4, even possibly 5 members of staff. I walked in, they all just looked at me blankly. Nobody acknowledged me or said anything. And I said, oh, hello, I'd like to find out about your brand. What materials do you use? And even still, it took a while for anyone to really warm up to me or put in any effort. I was just looked at blankly, almost like, what are you doing in here? You're not our target audience, for example. I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but I also noticed the same thing happened when I went to Roger Vivier. And it just made me a little sad because I actually mentioned to Kwanpen in the Landmark that your bags are not cheap. I would expect slightly better service, to be acknowledged, to ask questions and have someone graciously answer and not make it out as if I'm a nuisance wanting to find out about the brand before investing in the bags. But when I went to Kwanpen, it was first of all to answer the comments, the questions I had been asked about the brand, my thoughts. But I also have a number of clients who always say, if you see anything interesting, whether it's an item of clothing, I know their size, their style, or a bag from a different market, a brand we don't have in their home market, please send me pictures, and if I like it, I'll send you the money, buy it, and you send it to me. And that's something I do for a number of people. And so I was ready to take visuals of the Kwanpen bags to then send on to a number of my clients and find out if they were interested, because I was there, I'll be able to buy the bag and also get the VAT off the bag. So I was a little disappointed in the flat reception that I received. Kwanpen is a Singaporean brand founded in 1938 and eponymously named after its founder, Mr. Kwanpen Seng. And it's still a family-run business, and it's currently being run by the 3rd generation of the family. The brand is focused on producing exotic leather bags. The majority of their bags are made using Loticus crocodile sourced from South Africa. Their bags are typically shiny, but they do have a limited selection of alligator bags, alligator sourced from the United States of America. And they do have a small selection as well of small leather goods made from alligator, but the majority of their bags are made using crocodile. I remember when I was in the store in Hong Kong, and behind the till I noticed on the floor a selection of bags, and they were very different to everything else in the store. And I remember what stood out was an ostrich bag, very similar to a popular style from Loro Piana. And I asked, oh, what is that range? And they said, oh, it's a diffusion line. I think it's called Kwanpen. If I have the wrong name, I'll include it in the correct name in the description box down below. Kwanpen is a diffusion line aimed at a much younger audience with designs that are young, they're fresh, they're hip, they're trendy designs as a way of pulling in a younger audience. And then as they grow up and mature and their tastes evolve, they're already part of the Kwanpen family. And then the intention is they then move on to the mainline Kwanpen line because they are familiar with the brand, they like the brand, they've grown up with the brand. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But because conversation was a little stilted when I was in there, I had wanted to probe a little bit more about Kwanpen and find out more details, but I ended up leaving and just thought, maybe another time if I get the opportunity, I will ask about Kwanpen. Their crocodile bags are typically priced between, I would say about £2,000 going up to about £6,000 for the most expensive. That is the majority of their bags, but you will have some bags that are a little cheaper, a little more expensive, some incredibly more expensive, £20,000, £30,000. But those are more limited edition anniversary pieces, for example. But £2,000 to £6,000 is the general price point, and it's a range that's what I would call entry level into luxury. When it comes to exotic leather bags, you have brands like Colombo, for example, also producing largely crocodile bags, but they are priced 12 to about 20,000 euros, for example, whereas Kwanpen's very comfortably an entry level into luxury. Their styles are timeless. They have a fairly diverse selection of timeless designs, different shapes, different sizes, and their focus is on using a lot of color. They literally produce bags in all of the colors of the rainbow, and they typically go for the brighter hue of the color. The hardware on their bags, it's a mixture of either gold or palladium hardware. It's designed in Singapore and produced in Italy, and all of their bags are made in Singapore. Bags typically take 30 hours per bag to produce. And the focus, as I said, is on designs that are timeless, that transcend time, they're elegant, they're beautifully made. What I really like, what stood out, is the fact that they're focused on timeless designs, they use a lot of color, but they also have a restoration service. So any issues you typically may have with the bag, you do have their workshop on hand to be able to help with restoration issues. They have a fairly diverse selection of styles within the brand. But I have chosen three, I think three of their most prominent ranges, just as a way of introducing the brand to you and then giving my thoughts at the end as to what I think about Kwanpen bags. The first range is Raffles Classic. What you'll realize very quickly when you're in Singapore is that they are incredibly proud of the Raffles Hotel. It's their pride and joy. You can see it when anyone talks about Raffles Hotel, and it's been declared a national treasure by the government of Singapore. And many brands will align themselves with the hotel, and you will find they will name a range of products, whatever their product offering is, they'll name one of their ranges Raffles, for example, as a nod to the national treasure. And Kwanpen is no different. Their front-running, most iconic style is called Raffles Classic. And they state, the brand state, it's inspired by a Raffles Hotel polarizing architecture. It's a series of different styles of bags, all timeless, and they are top handle bags, all with the brand's signature hardware. And then the second range I'd like to talk about is also called Raffles, but it's Raffles 1819. And it's a range that was named after Kwanpen's first store in Europe. It was opened in London and unfortunately closed down during the pandemic, but it was their first European store, their first store outside of Asian territory. And it was located in a place called the Old Burlington Arcade, number 18 to 19. But 18 to 19 is also a fairly significant year for Singapore. It's the year that the country was founded. So it's a nod to the year that the country was founded and also the address of their first European outpost. The style is top handle bag, all with flap overs, and a series of different styles, different types of bags. You have clutches as well, different shapes. You have a good selection of variety within 18 to 19, Raffles 18 to 19. And they also have the brand's signature hardware as well. Within the 18 to 19 range, they produce a selection of colorways, and they only produce 10 bags per colorway. So the focus is very much on exclusivity. And they produce a total of only 150 bags per year within the entire selection of bags within the range Raffles 18 to 19. And each bag takes between 60 to 72 hours to produce, depending on the level of detail that's involved, how intricate the design is. The third style is KP Homage, and it's the range with the crocodile hardware on the front to open and close the bag. And I immediately noticed it because of the novelty element, the crocodile, but it was the detail of the etching of the crocodile. I really liked that. It stood out. It was pretty. It stood out. You noticed it. And what also added to the hardware is the fact that the yellow gold was incredibly bold. It was dazzling. It was a very vivid gold, and that stood out, and etching it all drew a lot of attention to the bag. And I thought, I like that crocodile detail. And so what do I think of Kwanpen bags? Well, I think they are a welcome offering into the entry level of luxury, a good selection of timeless designs, good selection of color. I really like that. And I like the fact that the brand offer a restoration service. It's really important. And I remember last year having a conversation with the creative director at Joseph Duclos, Ramesh Nair, and he mentioned during his time at Hermes, the head was Jean-Louis Dumas, and Jean-Louis Dumas had mentioned luxury is something that can be repaired. It's important to produce something well enough that if there's an issue, it can be repaired. It's worth repairing. And so that's something that's always stuck with me. And so when a brand has a restoration service, it's great, because if you have any issues, they are sorted in-house. You're not going to an external contractor who's not able to match everything like for like. What were my issues with the brand? The hardware. I felt the gold was just too bold. It was too vivid. It was too bright for me. And I remember the first time I saw it, what immediately came to mind was the fact that it's going to tarnish. The brilliance is going to become dull. It took a while for me to actually pluck up the courage to ask the brand, does the hardware tarnish? Is it going to darken? And they were honest and straight away said, yes, it will. Do polish it, do use the bag, but at some point it is going to dull. That brilliance is going to become a little dull. And I'm sure with their restoration service, they'll be able to do something. But the thing that really stood out and I wanted to highlight is when I looked at the bags that specifically had the pleating detail on the side of the bag, I noticed that the edge coating was not always consistent and neatly and evenly applied throughout. There's a particular bag, I think one of the first bags I looked at in the Hong Kong store, and I noticed a point at which there were 2 tears in the edge coating, and it was bumpy. It wasn't consistent throughout the pleating. It's tricky to get the edge coating neat, especially when it comes to the pleating. It takes a certain level of skill, patience, and you're applying it meticulously. And I didn't see that with this product. And I remember trying to take a picture and zoom in, and I couldn't get the level of detail I wanted to be able to show you. But if you're getting a bag with the pleating detail, I would say inspect the hardware. But I'm almost certain at some point, particularly if you use the bag a lot, you will start to have issues with the edge coating. But they do have the restoration service. But that to me was a major issue and something that I thought, oh, okay, these are some of the details that are lacking. It's an entry level into luxury. What are the things that are going to work, not work, the pitfalls? It's very much going to be a case of the edge coating and the hardware that potentially could be problematic for you. But what I did notice is another brand. It was in the Raffles Hotel complex where I was staying, a brand called Laura. And when I saw the bags, I thought, wow. And when I walked into their boutique, I thought, oh my gosh, I like these bags. Just my initial thoughts, I thought they were incredibly classy. They had bags in literally all colors of the rainbow, but they had the more muted take of the colors. The bags looked elegant. The bags looked beautiful. And I thought, oh wow. But again, the reception was off. And I had 3 people just watching me. I went to look at the bags. I was asking, please tell me about the brand. And they were showing me all the press articles and so forth. And when I was looking at the bag, everybody was just watching me. And I was trying to take a look at things, get an idea. And I felt as if they literally wanted to take the bag out of my hands. And I had to look at the bag from their hands. And they were not comfortable with me really looking at the bags. And I thought, these bags are a little more expensive than Kwanpen. They were maybe £1,000 more expensive. They are cheaper to buy in Singapore. I noticed the prices in the United Kingdom, in France, for example, were considerably more expensive. So they would typically jump up from about, I would say, 3,000 to about £7,500, £8,000. That is the range of their bags. But the bags were worth it. The little that I did see, they were elegant. The edge coating was beautifully done. The construction, I really, really liked the hardware. The hardware was solid. It was weighted and it was a champagne color as opposed to vivid gold. And it looked a lot more elegant, a lot more classy when you looked at the muted tone of the bags and then the muted hardware. I really liked their product, but I just didn't get the chance to really look at it. And I explicitly said to them, I have someone who's interested in Kwanpen bags, and I actually think your bags are better than Kwanpen. Can I send her some pictures because I'm leaving tonight and I'd like to take a bag with me and take it back for her if she would like something. And they insisted, we don't allow anyone to take pictures. We want to control all of the images that the brand distributes. And I said, okay. They insisted they'd send through pictures, and the pictures they sent through were just awful. I had specifically said, could I have pictures of the entire bag so she could see the inside, the outside, the underside, and I was just sent one visual of the bag, and I thought, oh, okay. And then when I thought about the interaction a few weeks after I got back from Singapore, I thought, I missed the cues. I actually was being fobbed off, and I just didn't pick up on the cues because I was just focused on, I like this brand, I want to find out as much as possible. They've just told me they have stock in Harrods, in the Ritz in Paris, and I'll take a look in Europe. But when I reached out to Harrods, I was told they'd sent back the bags because they didn't have the CITES. They hadn't been sent the CITES certificates by the brand. Reached out to the Ritz in Paris, and they said the same thing. They had to send the bags back. And I thought, what a shame. And they both said, we don't know when we will get the stock again. We need the CITES because the CITES is important when you have exotic leathers, particularly for the United States. In the United Kingdom, to bring back an exotic leather bag, as long as you have, I think it's a maximum of 3, it could be 4 bags in your personal luggage, you don't need a CITES certificate. I was a little disappointed at the experience I had in IIora, but I liked the little that I saw of the brand. If you're ever in Singapore, please do take a look at the brand and let me know what you think. But I just thought it was a shame. I wasn't their target audience. They told me the bags are typically popular in the Middle East and they don't advertise, and people find out about them through word of mouth. The owner and creative director of the brand, she tends to host a lot of events with ladies in Singapore, and that is how the brand is sold. Whereas someone like myself coming in, seeing it, wanting to take a picture and then sending it to someone wasn't something they wanted. They want to closely control the brand, which is their prerogative, I guess. But all is not lost. I did discover a brand that totally blew my mind. It's a brand called Mirzakhanian. I know I'm not pronouncing Mirzakhanian correctly. It's owned by a gentleman called Mirzakhanian. And I literally stumbled upon the bags in the Mandarin Oriental in Bangkok. And I was walking to dinner and I literally just glanced over at the glass cabinet and saw some beautiful crocodile bags. I really liked the exquisite scale pattern. I thought, oh, I'll take a look at the shop in the morning. And I'm glad I did. Went into the shop, really liked what I saw, and asked if I could meet with the creative director or if I could go to the store and get more details. And we ended up meeting later in the day and I found out a lot about the brand. It's a brand I really like. And I like the fact that they're using Thai croc construction of the bags, the details. I haven't seen details in a bag. And at this price point, the bags are priced between $2,000 to just over $10,000 US, depending of course on the detail and the size of the bag. But my goodness, it's a swoon-worthy brand that I'll talk about in detail during the course of the year. So that's Kwanpen, and then two bonus brands, Laura and M Mirzakhanian. Do subscribe if you haven't, so you don't miss out on my M Mirzakhanian feature a little later on during the course of the year. As always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.